What if I told you that sometimes the exact moment a woman seems to pull away, reject you, or act like she doesn't want you is actually the moment she wants you the most? Confusing, right? But this is one of the biggest paradoxes of female psychology that leaves most men scratching their heads and questioning their own worth. Here's the truth. Women rarely operate in a straight line. Their emotions don't always match their actions, and their behaviors can often seem contradictory. You may think her rejection means you've done something wrong, that she isn't attracted to you, or that you've lost your chance. But in reality, her pulling away could be one of the strongest signs that you've impacted her more deeply than she expected. Now, before you think I'm telling you to ignore rejection altogether, listen closely. A woman rejecting you doesn't always mean you should keep chasing her. In fact, chasing harder is often the exact mistake men make that ends up pushing her further away. What you need to understand is why she reacts this way when she's secretly drawn to you. Because once you see the patterns, you'll stop second-guessing yourself, and you'll know exactly how to respond without losing your power or self-respect. Think about it. How many times have you been talking to a woman, felt the chemistry, saw the signs that she was into you, and then, out of nowhere, she went cold? She might say she's not ready. She might act distant. She might even flat out reject you. Yet you later find out she still talks about you, still checks your social media, or still shows subtle signs that she hasn't moved on. That's not coincidence. That's psychology. In this video, I'm going to break down 7 reasons why a woman will reject you when she actually wants you the most. These are the hidden truths that will change the way you see female behavior forever. And by the end, you'll not only understand her reactions, but you'll also know how to handle them in a way that keeps you in control, protects your dignity, and makes her respect you even more. Are you ready? But before we start, listen carefully. What you see here in my channel is just a preview, not the full picture. If you really want to master the dating game and learn how modern relationships actually work, don't waste time. Rush right now to https://www.stoicapproachtolife.com AAGVVLS, or go to my description and click the link below and unlock the real strategies, the real teachings, the real results. Don't just watch. Level up today. So let's get started. 1. She's testing your strength. One of the biggest reasons a woman rejects you when she actually wants you the most is because she's testing your strength. Now, I don't mean physical strength. I mean emotional, mental, and masculine strength. Women want to know what kind of man they're really dealing with, and sometimes rejection is their way of finding out. Here's how it works. Deep down, a woman might feel drawn to you. She likes your presence, your energy, maybe even the way you carry yourself. But attraction alone isn't enough for her to feel safe. She needs to know if you're steady, if you're grounded, and if you can handle pressure without falling apart. So what does she do? She throws a wall in front of you. She pulls back. She says, "I'm not interested." And she watches how you react. Most men fail this test without even realizing it. The moment they hear rejection, they panic. They start chasing harder, asking what they did wrong, begging for another chance, or worse, changing their behavior completely just to win her approval. And in that instant, the attraction she once felt disappears. Why? Because she sees a man who can't hold his ground. She sees someone whose sense of self is so fragile that one woman's reaction can shatter it. That doesn't inspire trust. It kills it. But here's the paradox. If you don't flinch, if you stay calm, and if you respect her space while remaining unshaken, that same rejection can flip back into attraction almost instantly. Because what you've shown her is rare. You've shown her that you don't need her validation to feel strong. You've shown her that you are already a man with direction, confidence, and composure. And that is exactly what makes her want you more. Think of it this way. Rejection in these moments isn't really rejection. It's a challenge. She wants to know if your attraction to her is based on neediness or genuine desire. If it's neediness, you'll crumble. If it's genuine, you'll stand tall without chasing, proving that you're not afraid to walk away if she can't meet you halfway. That balance of desire without desperation is what flips the script in your favor. So the next time a woman pushes you away, when you feel that strong connection, don't see it as the end. See it for what it is, a test. Don't argue, don't plead, don't chase. Just stay calm, grounded, and let her come back when she realizes you didn't break. Because in her mind, a man who can stay strong in the face of rejection is the kind of man she won't forget. 2. Fear of vulnerability. Another powerful reason a woman rejects you, even when she wants you the most, comes down to fear of vulnerability. Attraction is not just excitement, it's risk. When a woman feels herself falling for you, there's a part of her that panics. Why? because opening up to you means giving you the power to affect her emotionally. And for many women, that level of vulnerability is terrifying. Think about it. If she admits how much she wants you, she's handing you the keys to her emotions. She's showing you that she cares, that you matter to her, and that she could actually get hurt if you decide to leave. That fear is enough to make her slam on the brakes, even when her heart is pulling her toward you. And so instead of moving closer, she distances herself. Instead of saying yes, she tells you no. The rejection, then, is not about you being unattractive. It's about her trying to protect herself. She feels the intensity building inside her, and to manage that fear, she pushes you away. Ironically, the stronger her feelings are, the stronger her urge to reject can become. Here's the truth most men don't realize. Many women have been hurt before. They've opened up to men who weren't ready, men who took their vulnerability and used it against them, men who left them broken. Those memories don't go away. They shape the way she reacts in the present. So when she meets a man who stirs her emotions, her guard immediately rises. It's not because she doesn't want him, it's because she wants him so much that she can't risk feeling that pain again. This is where your response as a man is critical. If you take her rejection personally and react with frustration or desperation, you confirm her fear. You show her that being vulnerable with you really would be unsafe. But if you respond with calmness, patience, and consistency, you create the opposite effect. You show her that her emotions are safe with you, that you're not going to push her faster than she's ready to go, and that you won't punish her for her hesitation. Attraction isn't just about chemistry, it's about safety. A woman might desire you, but if she doesn't feel safe enough to surrender to that desire, she will block herself from fully engaging. That's why some women say no when everything inside them is screaming yes. So what do you do in this situation? You don't chase, you don't argue, and you don't try to break down her defenses. Instead, you let her guard down naturally by staying composed and giving her space to choose you freely. The more she sees that you're not trying to manipulate her, the more she'll realize that her fear is just that. A fear. And when that fear starts to dissolve, the attraction that was buried under the rejection will come rushing back to the surface. The key lesson here is simple. Don't confuse rejection with lack of interest. Sometimes it's actually a sign of deeper interest so strong it scares her. When you learn to recognize this and respond with patience instead of panic, you position yourself as the man she can finally trust with her vulnerability. And once she feels safe with you, the rejection won't just disappear, it will transform into pursuit. 3. Testing your strength. One of the most overlooked reasons a woman rejects you, even when she feels a strong pull toward you, is because she's testing your strength. And this test isn't always conscious. Sometimes it's her instinct at work, an instinct to measure what kind of man you really are when faced with resistance. You see, attraction doesn't just run on compliments, gifts, or chemistry. At its core, a woman is looking for a man who can handle pressure, who doesn't collapse the moment things don't go his way. Rejection, in this sense, becomes her way of observing how you respond. Do you get upset? Do you sulk? Do you lash out? Or do you hold your ground unbothered and composed? For her, this matters more than most men realize. A man who crumbles under rejection signals weakness. And weakness is the one thing that kills attraction faster than anything else. On the other hand, a man who accepts rejection calmly, without begging for validation or approval, shows that he's not dependent on her response to define his worth. That's the man she notices. That's the man she respects. Here's the paradox. A woman may secretly want you, but she'll still create friction to see what you're made of. It's like pushing on the walls of a house to see if they hold steady. If they collapse, she knows the foundation is weak. If they stand strong, she knows the house is safe to enter. That's how her psychology works. This is why so many men sabotage themselves. They hear no and immediately spiral into neediness. They send long texts demanding explanations. They chase harder, trying to convince her. They turn rejection into desperation. And in doing so, they fail the very test that could have won her over. The truth is, rejection is not always rejection. Sometimes it's a filter to separate men who are easily shaken from those who are grounded. When you understand this, you stop seeing rejection as a personal attack and start seeing it as an opportunity. an opportunity to show her that your sense of self is unshakable. So how do you pass this test? By being steady, by not overreacting, by not allowing her words to dictate your emotions. You acknowledge her decision, you step back with confidence, and you continue living your life without trying to force an outcome. This doesn't just make you look strong, it makes you become strong. Because strength is not what you say in response to rejection. It's what you embody in your silence and in your actions. And here's the irony. When she sees that her rejection doesn't rattle you, that's when her attraction often intensifies. Suddenly, the very act of pushing you away creates a pull inside her. Because deep down, every woman knows that a man who cannot be broken is a man worth desiring. 4. Fear of losing control. Sometimes when a woman rejects you, even though she clearly feels drawn to you, it's not about you at all. It's about control. Many women fear losing control over their emotions, over the pace of the relationship, or even over how much power they give away when they allow themselves to be fully vulnerable with a man. Think about it. Attraction is not logical. When a woman feels deeply pulled toward you, it stirs up feelings inside her that she may not be ready to face. She worries, if I give in to this too quickly, will I lose my independence? Will I lose my upper hand? Will he see too much of my weakness? And so, instead of leaning into the connection, she pushes back. That pushback can feel like rejection, but in reality, it's her defense mechanism against losing control. Here's a real-life scenario. Imagine you've been spending time with a woman who clearly enjoys being around you. She laughs at your jokes, her body language is open, and she finds excuses to extend conversations. But just when things seem like they're about to move forward, she suddenly creates distance. She might say she's not ready, or she needs space, or she just wants to keep things casual. To most men, this feels confusing. But what's really happening is that her attraction scares her. She fears that if she lets go, she'll fall harder than she intended, and that loss of control terrifies her. This is why rejection can sometimes be a smokescreen. It's not about lack of desire, it's about self-protection. Many women, especially those who have been hurt before, use rejection as a way to slow things down and test if you're really consistent. Because here's what she's really watching. Does your interest vanish the moment she pulls back? Do you get bitter, angry, or offended? Or do you stay calm, patient, and grounded in who you are? Now picture another scenario. A man meets a woman, and the chemistry between them is undeniable. She feels it, he feels it, and everyone around them can see it. But instead of surrendering to those feelings, she suddenly pulls away, saying, I don't think I'm ready for something serious. If the man panics, tries to convince her, or pressures her into moving forward, she feels validated in her fear. He's not steady, he's desperate for control himself. But if the man respects her space, continues living with confidence, and doesn't let her mixed signals derail him, she eventually starts questioning her own walls. That's when she often comes back stronger, because his calmness showed her that she's safe losing a little bit of control around him. Here's the paradox. Rejection is often less about you and more about her relationship with control. When you understand this, you stop taking her pushback personally. You realize that sometimes the best thing you can do is lean back yourself and let her wrestle with her fears. If she's truly drawn to you, she'll return once she realizes that giving in to her feelings doesn't mean she's losing control. It means she's choosing to trust you with it. At the end of the day, women don't want a man who demands control. They want a man who doesn't need it, a man who can hold his ground without clinging or panicking. That balance, your ability to stay composed while she resists, makes her feel safe. And ironically, it's often the very thing that turns her initial rejection into deeper desire. 5. Rejection as a shield, not the truth. Rejection is never just about words. It's about the emotional storm that lies underneath them. When a woman pushes you away, even though her heart pulls her towards you, she is acting from conflict. That conflict sits between what she feels in the moment and what she believes she must protect. On the surface, she may say no, but beneath that no, there can be a very strong yes. The challenge is that most men never learn how to separate the surface response from the deeper truth. They assume rejection means the absence of attraction, when in reality it can mean the presence of attraction so strong it feels dangerous to her. You see, human beings are wired to avoid pain, and love, as beautiful as it is, carries the risk of pain. For women who tend to connect deeply and invest emotionally, the fear of pain can be overwhelming, so rejection becomes a shield. By saying no, she believes she is protecting herself from a situation that might end in heartbreak, but that shield can be misleading because it hides her real feelings. A man who takes it personally will walk away too soon, missing the truth that she is not saying no to him. She is saying no to her own vulnerability. This is where patience and clarity matter. A woman who wants you but rejects you is not asking you to fight for her with pressure. She is asking you to show her consistency without force. The difference is subtle but powerful. Pressure makes her feel cornered. Consistency makes her feel safe. When you don't break down in the face of her resistance, you communicate strength without saying a word. You let her know that you are not shaken by hesitation, that you don't need her immediate approval to validate your worth. Over time, this creates an important shift. Her mind begins to catch up with her emotions. Where once she told herself that surrendering to her feelings would cost her control, she starts to realize that being with you doesn't mean losing herself. Instead, it means discovering that she can have both attraction and safety at the same time. That realization often changes the way she sees you completely. The same man she once pushed away becomes the man she can no longer ignore. But here's the key. None of this works if you approach rejection with anger, desperation, or self-doubt. The moment you lose your balance, you prove her fears correct. You show her that you are not ready for the weight of her emotions. And once that happens, she won't just reject you from fear, she will reject you from certainty. That's why rejection is less about her words and more about your response. The man who understands this doesn't fight against her rejection. He stays steady through it. He knows that attraction is a current that cannot be forced, but can never truly be hidden either. In truth, rejection often says more about timing than it does about compatibility. Sometimes she is not ready to trust her own emotions. Sometimes her fears outweigh her desires. But if the attraction is real, her rejection is not an ending, it is a pause. A pause to test your steadiness, a pause to confirm her safety, a pause to make sure her surrender will not cost her more than she is ready to give. So remember this, rejection in the presence of desire is not a wall, but a mirror. It reflects her inner struggle, not your inadequacy. And if you remain grounded, if you hold firm without needing to force her hand, you become the kind of man she can risk choosing. Because in the end, the rejection she gave you out of fear becomes the very bridge that draws her closer when she's finally ready. 6, her fear of losing control. One of the biggest reasons a woman will reject you even when she secretly wants you is tied directly to her need for control. Attraction for women is not just about chemistry, it's also about emotional safety and the balance of power in the connection. Many women fear what happens when they feel too vulnerable, too drawn in, too emotionally exposed. When she feels that pull toward you is getting stronger than what she's ready to handle, her natural instinct is to pull away. That rejection isn't about a lack of desire, it's her way of regaining control over her emotions and the situation. Think about it this way, when someone feels like they're falling too fast, the first response is often to hit the brakes. For women, rejection can sometimes be that brake. It's not that she doesn't feel the pull towards you. On the contrary, she feels it so strongly that she starts to panic about what it could mean. Will she lose her independence? Will she end up too invested while you remain distant? Will she get hurt again like she did in the past? All these questions race through her mind, and instead of leaning into the connection, she throws up a wall. That wall takes the form of no, even though her body language, her energy, and her subtle behaviors scream the opposite. Here's what you need to understand. Women crave certainty. When she's unsure about you, unsure about your intentions, unsure about how you feel, unsure about whether she can trust the space she's giving to her emotions, she will default to rejection. Why? Because rejection puts the ball back in her court. It's her way of saying, I decide how much access you have to me. That feeling of control calms her fear, even if deep down it contradicts her actual desires. As a man, it's important not to chase harder when she does this. Chasing only confirms her fear that she's losing control. Instead, the most powerful move you can make is to hold your ground, remain calm, and keep your frame steady. This shows her that you are not threatened by her pulling back, that you're not desperate, and that you are still in control of yourself. That subtle but strong energy tells her she doesn't need to fear losing control, because you're not trying to dominate her. You're simply not allowing her rejection to destabilize you. Over time, this steadiness can break through her defenses. The moment she sees that she cannot shake your composure, that you're still the same grounded man whether she leans in or pulls away, the fear that made her reject you begins to fade. What replaces it is respect, and respect, more than anything else, makes her feel safe enough to drop the act and let her true feelings come forward. 7. The test of your value. Sometimes when a woman rejects you even though she wants you, it's not about fear, insecurity, or even confusion. It's a test. Yes, you read that right. Women test men often without even realizing it. Why? Because deep down she wants to see if the attraction she feels is worth the risk of giving herself fully. Rejection in these moments becomes less about no and more about, let's see what you do now. Here's the truth. Women don't just want a man they're attracted to, they want a man they can respect. Respect is the foundation of lasting desire. And one of the fastest ways she measures your worth is through the way you handle resistance. If she feels she can control you with her rejection, if you crumble at the first sign of her pulling back, she knows you're not the man she needs. But if you stand firm, confident, calm, unshaken, suddenly her rejection shifts from a wall to a mirror. It reflects back to her the strength you carry, and that strength is magnetic. Think about how this plays out in real life. She may say, I don't think this is a good idea, or I'm not ready. Yet she still texts you, still shows up in your space, still lingers around. That's not rejection. It's curiosity mixed with testing. She's watching to see how you respond. Will you beg? Will you plead? Will you try to convince her of your worth? Or will you calmly accept her words while living in a way that silently communicates, I know my value, whether you see it right now or not? This kind of rejection is actually one of the most powerful signs of attraction. Why? Because if she truly had no interest, she wouldn't bother testing you at all. Indifference, not rejection, is the real opposite of attraction. When she pushes you away, it's often her way of pulling the truth out of you. She wants to see if the man she's feeling drawn to can actually carry the weight of her emotions. Men who understand this never take rejection personally. Instead, they see it as an opportunity to prove, not with words, but with presence, that they are unshakable. A woman may fight her own feelings, but she cannot ignore a man who remains strong when she expects him to break. And the more she sees you stay grounded, the more her resistance melts away. That's when her rejection turns into surrender, not the surrender of weakness, but the surrender of finally trusting your strength. So when a woman rejects you while clearly showing signs of wanting you, remember this. You are being tested, not in a cruel way, but in a deeply primal way. She needs to know you are the kind of man she can lean on, the kind of man who doesn't collapse when pressure hits. Pass that test, and you'll find that rejection was never rejection at all. It was simply her way of making sure you're truly the man she wants to give herself to. Now that you understand why a woman might reject you even when she wants you, you start to see that rejection isn't always the end of the story. In fact, more often than not, it's a window into her fears, her insecurities, her tests, and her hidden desires. What looks like no on the surface can sometimes mean not yet, or even show me you're worth it. Men who crumble under rejection never see this truth. They walk away wounded, questioning their worth, and carrying the false belief that they were never good enough. But the men who stand tall, who stay calm, who don't let a woman's hesitation shake their identity, those are the men who pass through the fire and come out stronger. And women feel that. They respect it. They're drawn to it because it's rare in today's world. The real lesson here is this. Rejection isn't your enemy. It's information. It tells you what she's afraid of, what she needs, and where you stand in her eyes. If you can take it without losing your composure, you'll discover that rejection is one of the most powerful tools you have for understanding female psychology. Instead of chasing, pleading, or proving yourself, you begin to live in your own strength. You start to embody the calm, centered presence that women can't resist. And here's the harsh but freeing truth. Not every rejection will turn into attraction. Sometimes a woman will push you away because she's not for you. But even then, by handling it with grace, you win. You walk away with your dignity, your respect, and your masculine frame intact. And when the right woman comes along, she'll feel that strength immediately because you've practiced it. So remember this. When a woman rejects you, don't see it as a loss. See it as a mirror, reflecting who you are and how you handle pressure. And if you can meet that moment with calm confidence, you'll always come out ahead. If this message resonated with you, don't stop here. There's so much more you need to know to master female psychology and protect your own value in today's dating world. Subscribe to the channel, tap the notification bell, and stay tuned, because I'll be breaking down more truths that most men never hear, but every man needs. The kind of truths that will keep you from being blindsided, keep you from being manipulated, and most importantly, keep you strong. This is your time to take control of your story. Don't let rejection define you. Let it refine you.